Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the channel. Dylan here. We have a major breaking news alert today from independent journalist Nick Shirley. He is getting nationwide and worldwide attention right now for what he's exposing on his YouTube channel and what he's actually exposing. And they're actually now creating an entire piece of legislation based around Nick Shirley. The Democrats are trying to stop Nick Shirley exposing this fraud, waste, and abuse, and it's actually trying to clean up our country in a big way because we haven't really seen anybody like Nick Shirley really step up in the past to expose this stuff, and Democrats are pushing back big time. So we're going to dive in and expose the truth, but before we do, we're going to read scripture and pray because God comes first. Amen? Comment amen if you believe that. Today's Bible reading comes from the book of Psalm 119. You are my refuge and my shield. I have put my hope in your word. Amen. So comment amen down below. And my brothers and sisters, congratulations to everyone who has begun investing in the stock market, who has taken that leap to start investing with just a few dollars. The stock market is absolutely soaring today, hitting again new all-time highs. If you still want to get started investing, we have a completely free offer right now that we've never had before with the link below, or you can take out your cell phone, open up your camera app, point it at this QR code, and get started investing. And you can also now follow along with my free investing tutorial below. It's very beginner friendly and you really only need a few dollars to begin. So this is what's been going on. Nick Shirley, there's now a bill called the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Nick Shirley is making so much noise exposing the truth that they're now calling it the Nick Shirley Act. Nonsense. California's Stop Nick Shirley Act is now sparking. Let's tune in.
Welcome back. The fraud fallout continues. You might remember viral videos from Nick Shirley, the independent journalist who helped put a spotlight on fraud nationwide, including California's hospice center fraud. Last week, California Attorney General Rob Bonta took a victory lap, bragging about his state cracking down on massive fraud schemes in Los Angeles.
Operation Skip Trace uncovered and ended a hospice fraud scheme that defrauded Medi-Cal of $267 million. So just to be clear, $250 million.
Insane.
Over. Funds that are paid for by California taxpayers, funds that are meant to provide care to Californians in need. It is unacceptable, it is illegal, and we will not stand for it.
Too little, too late, Mr. Attorney General. Look, we're all for stopping fraud, but at the same time, his wife, Democrat Assemblywoman Mia Bonta, is pushing a bill critics say could make it harder to expose fraud. It's called the Privacy for Immigration Support Service Providers. Critics are calling it, though, the Stop Nick Shirley Act. What would it do? Well, it would let eligible individuals keep their home addresses confidential. It would also ban the sharing of photos or personal information that could lead to any type of harassment or harm online. And it allows victims to seek $4,000 in damages, and it subjects the violators to fines of up to $10,000 or even a year in jail.
So they're basically like trying to protect these people who are committing these bad and using the money for bad stuff.
If you are found in violation of the Privacy for Immigration Support Service Providers. Critics say, though, it could complicate the on-the-ground investigations, right as California is already dealing with massive fraud scandals. And a lot of those red flags were brought to light because people actually went out and looked. Fox News' William LaJeunesse visited a California home health center where the credentials of an 87-year-old doctor were used to bill for 29,000 non-existent patients. Fox News Digital uncovered $3.5 billion in taxpayer losses, over 1,900 hospice providers. That's more than 36 states combined.
Damn.
There were 112 of them at one location, one commercial building, and the average stay in hospice was over 3 months. All right, joining us now is independent journalist Nick Shirley. Nick, it's good to see you again. What do you think? Is this the Stop Nick Shirley Act in California?
Yeah, they're trying to make it so citizen journalists or just average Americans who are going about seeing what's happening inside their community, they're trying to scare them from talking about potential fraud taking place inside of these communities. And think about it. They're literally willing to impose a $10,000 fine or imprisonment if you go and seek to find out the truth about a location that could potentially be fraudulent inside your own neighborhood.
Nick, let's just kind of play out that hypothetical. So whether you were in Minnesota, you also went to California, you would go up to the Quality Leering Center, a clearly fake daycare in Minnesota. There's your shirt. Yes, always on. And you would attempt to see if there's any children inside, right? And somebody comes out and talks to you. And now that person who's there possibly committing fraud could file a complaint in California that Nick Shirley is harassing me online, right? That's how it would work in effect. And then you would either see a year in jail or a $10,000 fine?
Correct. That's what it sounds like.
So Nick Shirley could actually end up in jail over this, guys. Can you believe that?
And it sucks because inside these states like Minnesota and California, they've been proven to let fraud take place inside these immigrant communities. You had the Somalians in Minnesota and Armenians in California. And they're trying to protect these people who are committing this fraud. They're stealing millions upon millions of dollars. And it just makes you wonder who their donors are. Who are their donors? Because why would they create this bill to then try and make it harder to expose fraud?
Yeah, that's a great question. Who is funding Mia Bonta's campaigns? Why would she be pushing this bill? Why would she be so threatened by your journalism? Those are actually great questions that we'll do our best to look into. I know you will as well, Nick, because you do great work out there and we encourage you to keep it up. Thank you, Nick.
That is insane, guys. Absolutely insane. Let's keep listening to Nick Shirley, guys.
Joining us now for tonight's Big Close-Up is independent journalist Nick Shirley. Nick, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. I read through this bill today as painstakingly, as painful as it was. And the section where they give definitions is really where the dirty work is. Because in the beginning you think, okay, well, it's not legal to harass somebody because of their job. You may disagree over if any specific group gets that protection, but you can understand that. But when you look into the definitions, it defines an immigration support service to be healthcare. Like an immigration support service facility to be a healthcare facility. So the ambiguity there is huge. And then under harassment, it basically says a reasonable person caused a reasonable person to fear for their own safety. So that goes to the discernment of, I don't know, bureaucrats or people that are filing a complaint. They really leave it incredibly open-ended for you to be targeted for going to a place of work and reporting on it, depending on what that place does.
Yeah, and that's their whole goal, is to make it as open-ended as possible so they can then crack down on anybody who's working to expose them. In this bill, it doesn't say journalist. It actually says people or business. It doesn't say journalist. So this is actually an attack on not just me, but an attack on the entire country, because they're trying to literally make it harder for fraud to be exposed. And so when they say it's an attack on journalists, it's actually an attack on everyone.
You think that if they use all this energy to just expose the bad stuff, then they could actually clean it up. Instead, they're going after the person who's exposing it. All right, we do have breaking news. Let's tune in. Markets are soaring under President Trump. Go figure.
On Wall Street, where the stock market is still soaring to new highs today, started out down, but then reversed course and has only gone up since then. The Dow at 421 points. This as oil continues to sell off from those highs made yesterday, almost $120 a barrel yesterday. It's hard to update the banners fast enough. Right now, we're looking at oil now down 19%. That's a drop of $18 a barrel, and it is now at $77 a barrel. This is just an incredible swing. Here was the president on what they're doing about those, what were high energy prices.
Wow, so the stock market is soaring, oil prices are down, just like Trump said would happen. One of you guys even messaged me and saying that you are up over almost $14,000. My investments are up over $32,000 just from investing and taking advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And right now, if you want to start investing, we have a completely free offer right now. Click the link below and sign up in a couple of minutes, or you can take out your cell phone, open up the camera app, and point it at the screen. Follow the steps. It's very beginner friendly. And now I also have a free investing tutorial you can watch while you download the app. I'll have that link below as well. You can get started with just a few dollars. You don't need a lot of money to start. There's no hidden fees. There's no cost to this. It's completely free.
Yeah, it certainly is. Nick, I know that you've talked a lot about this, but what do you make of the fact that the person really pushing this is Assemblywoman Mia Bonta? She's got some interesting connections, doesn't she, Nick?
Very interesting connections. With her husband being the Attorney General of California, their goal as a family should be to prosecute and take care and make sure that there is so little fraud in the state that they can have such a peaceful night of sleep. However, while the Attorney General is supposed to be prosecuting fraud, his wife is creating laws to let fraud continue. They're specifically saying that NGOs who receive money based off immigrant services don't have to disclose their money. And so we know that they use those services to commit fraud.
Yeah.
You know, Nick, it's interesting to me that people who will scream fascism or authoritarianism the loudest are now rushing to criminalize investigative journalism. I think that sort of speaks for itself. We played a clip here on the show last evening of Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. She was on a podcast talking about how your efforts and similar efforts really kind of amount to creepy harassment. And it's creating, she called, a cloud of suspicion unfairly around minority-owned businesses. What's your response to the Congresswoman when she says something like that?
Well, it's a bit suspicious to have your net worth go up by millions and then just recently say that it's an error. I mean, I don't think I've ever put 2 extra zeros as an error when I file any report. So Ilhan Omar, we know who she is. We know that she's like the queen of the fraud, actually. And so Ilhan Omar, no respect to her whatsoever.
Do you guys have any respect for Ilhan Omar? And do you believe that she, just made a little tiny mistake? You know what happened when Trump made a mistake? They tried to throw him in jail. Remember his accounting with Letitia James and not even that, but the Stormy Daniels stuff, rather. When, there was a mistake in an accounting error, but they tried to put Trump in jail for that.
Hey, Nick, it's Anita Vogel. I had a chance to meet you and your mom last month when you came into the Fox Los Angeles Bureau to be on Fox News at Night with Trace Gallagher. We were all on the show together. And I really enjoyed meeting your mom. She told me she studied journalism and has been helping you with your efforts to expose fraud. She, in many cases, does the camera work, and you really have been a team out there. But she also told me how dangerous this work is and the threats that you have received. And I think a lot of people don't think about that when they see your videos because we're just so in awe of what you're doing. But talk a little bit about the danger here that you're dealing with.
Yeah, so the danger is real. Like, for instance, last time I was in California, a few trips back, people were trying to dox my location live. I was at a hotel, and people were up on Reddit group chats saying where I was staying. And it's happened a few times now, so it's like almost even dangerous for me to go stay at hotels because you can get doxxed really quick and people come and find out where you're at. You get constant death threats from people. The fraudsters are angry. In fact, they're very angry. I've had death threats, and one of them was even very specific about the date. It's actually supposed to be coming up very soon, the date that they said they'd kill me. So that was interesting. And you just get all these death threats. You get doxing. But the majority of the public are very thankful. Like, when I'm out in public, so many people come up to me and say thank you. It's actually interesting at Sacramento, when I was just there, so many people were saying thank you. But the people inside the building, they all hate me because I'm exposing their corruption. But
well, there was even that one guy who he was at a protest and he was like, I'm going to make you Charlie Kirk Jr. or something.
The people love me.
Nick, the Bonta family does not like you, but the rest do. I want to ask you, speaking of that, Governor Gavin Newsom and his press bros, they talk a lot of junk about you. They post photos of you. I think the recent one trying to make you look like Dumb and Dumber. A lot of it is childish and stupid, but they've also insinuated that you're some kind of a predator, that you go to facilities and you're looking for children. And I believe Joe Rogan also addressed that on his podcast. But what do you make of the way that the governor of California, his team, and others, the way that they characterize you?
Well, they should be working with me to crack down on this fraud. And so they want to make me look like the bad person. Maybe it's because that fraud makes them look bad.
Has Gavin Newsom reached out to Nick Shirley and said thank you? Has he maybe offered Nick Shirley a job? Maybe has he asked Nick Shirley, hey, can I come with you and we can go in person together? That would be what a respectful governor or mayor would do.
But in reality, I'm there to help everyone out. This fraud, it's not a Republican or Democrat issue. There is a lot more fraud in Democrat states, but I'm actually just trying to help America in general. And so for them to make these attacks, it's quite frankly very stupid of them to do that when in fact I'm just providing a huge public service, more than any public service they've done. And they get very upset about it.
Okay, in California, Democrats are taking heat for a new bill they're pushing that one lawmaker has now dubbed the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Some people are arguing that the proposed legislation effectively criminalizes investigative journalism. GOP Florida Senator and member of the Homeland Security Committee, Ashley Moody, joins me now. You know, fraud has been a big focus for you when you were AG in Florida, and now that you're a senator here in Washington. Give me your reaction to this. I mean, they're basically saying you can't go out and investigate in the way that Nick Shirley did in Minneapolis.
Yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all. A lot of, we're uncovering in these commie criminal havens, let's call them, their policies have bankrupted their states, and they built that in to these structural deficits like California. I think Massachusetts is struggling with deficits. All of these policies that they're implementing don't drive real market-driven prosperity. In fact, it wrecks true markets and the ability of a state to thrive, like Florida, right? Compare and contrast. We run a deficit every year. So then they go and cry to the federal government, we need all these grants, we need all this money, and they push that money out to these NGOs and other organizations, which through all kinds of grants, health grants, you name it. You saw some of the stuff coming through COVID or even green energy during Biden, just pushing out billions and billions of dollars. And then when you have Americans like Nick Shirley showing up and saying, where's my taxpayer money going? You're using so much of it to shield and cover up what you're pushing to, I would say illegally, to illegal immigration or other things. Now they want to cover it up. They want to stop any way of an American taxpayer coming in and demanding transparency. They've already been shutting out Congress and its oversight. They definitely did that during the Biden administration. And now they're seeing Nick Shirley have some success. They're going to try and cover up and block anybody like that from coming in. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, it does make you wonder, like, what are you hiding that you have to pass a law?
That's a good point. Yeah, what are you hiding?
Here's Nick Shirley, actually. He was just on with Kaylee, and here's his reaction to this bill that's sort of named after him.
So if this passes, the fraud's going to continue to get worse and worse. And if I were to go look into the fraud at one of these NGOs, let's say, that receives money for migrants, I could receive a $4,000 civil fine, a $10,000 criminal fine, or a $50,000 felony. They're basically trying to bankrupt journalists from looking into the fraud.
So, all of us journalists, I mean, I've been a journalist since 2006. I know what I can and can't do. I know, where I'm allowed to go, where I'm not allowed to go. And I would think that being on public property the way that Nick Shirley was in Minneapolis is covered by the First Amendment. I mean, is this bill even legal?
Right, exactly. I mean, people have the right to talk out, report and talk about things that they see wrong. The real challenge in this law also is that they're saying these nonprofits or employees should never be doxxed. They should never be harassed. They're calling it, protecting these, I'm going to say quote unquote employees. Although if you remember in Minnesota when he was showing up, nobody was there. There were no employees. It was completely a front. But they want to allow, and think about the irony in this, they want to allow the harassment and the doxing and the threats against law enforcement, but they want to protect people that are scamming American taxpayers.
That is wild, guys. Absolutely wild. All right, we have breaking news. President Trump has caused a market rally. The S&P 500 has surged to a record high. if you begun investing, if you join my program, this is exactly what we are investing in. So take a listen.
Stock market just hit a record high. Isn't that something? Not just since the war began, but it's the highest it's ever been. Right now, it hit highs as that press briefing was ongoing. There hasn't just been a calm in the markets. Now there's actually a rally happening.
I think it shows the fundamental strength of the American economy.
Yep. President Trump is creating new opportunity for all of us. As you can see, my investments are up over $32,000 just from investing like Trump. I show you guys everything that I'm buying in the links below. If you want to start investing, you can start with just a couple of dollars. You can click the link below to sign up, or you can take out your cell phone, open up your camera app, and point it at this QR code. It will pop up a little link, click it, click get started, and follow the steps, join along. And if you have any questions, I made a completely free tutorial, which is also linked below too. Just click get started, follow all the steps. I'll see you in there. So we're gonna take a little bit of a turn and take a focus on what Ilhan Omar's role in this all is. And this interview really breaks it down really strongly, and what Nick Shirley is doing and why Ilhan Omar is so involved. Take a listen.
Now let's talk about people like Ilhan Omar and her influence here on the Somali community. What influence does she have on what happens here?
Well, she's a key reason that we have so many Somalis here. She was a big proponent of drawing them in because once she realized how loose the regulations were here on all of this money, this welfare money, this assistance payments, she started bringing the Somalis in, and they came in from all around the country. So not only were they coming from Somalia, they were coming from Texas and Florida and New York and everywhere else, because the word went out, you got to come to Minnesota because it's open season here. And so that's why, and they're still coming here, and they're still gonna get money. And so Ilhan Omar is, I mean, she's the godmother of the Somalis.
And so whatever she says goes.
Yes.
And you keep referring that Somalians don't move alone. If one of them moves, 10 of them move.
Yes.
So that's how they're able to multiply and almost compound here as far as their populations.
And so the idea is that they want to repopulate as quickly as possible. So that's why all these Muslim women you see, they're always pregnant all the time. Because when you have all these children, now you can start to overtake a city, a society, and now you run for school board, you run for office. We had a Somali guy, I couldn't believe he didn't get elected mayor of Minneapolis, but Jacob Fry, who was elected mayor, he's even worse. He bows down to the Somalis, he tries to speak their language. It's embarrassing.
And so these Somalis, they're Muslims, and Muslims are able to have 4 wives. And
yes.
They're able to have, I don't know, I doubt there's a cap to how many kids you can have, but by having 4 wives, you're able to have more kids than a person with just 1 wife.
Yes.
And so obviously they're going to multiply and compound inside of Minnesota. So who knows what Minnesota will look like in 50 years from now.
Whoa.
If this doesn't stop, Minnesota's done.
Wow. So Ilhan Omar's like, she's all over this. Take a look at what Ilhan is getting exposed with right now, guys.
So I have a question for you. Have you ever accidentally thought that you were a multimillionaire? Well, Ilhan Omar says she is not a multimillionaire. And look at this headline from the Wall Street Journal. She thought she was, though. Omar was standing down. Look at this headline. Ilhan Omar says she isn't a multimillionaire, blames accounting error. Okay, so an accounting error led her to believe she was very wealthy. Well, Omar was staring down a potential investigation after disclosing that she and her husband's assets were valued between $6 million and $30 million on a financial disclosure form. Now listen to this. That was an astronomical increase in wealth from her last disclosure, but she has since amended her filing, now saying that her assets are valued between $18,004 to $95,000. So 6 to 30 million to under 100,000.
Do you believe that? Comment below. Do you believe Ilhan Omar? Should we trust her now? Oh, it was just a mistake back then, but I'm sure this one has no mistakes at all, right? Now we can trust her, huh?
How in the world does that happen? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, quote, aides said that Omar looked at the form before it was filed in 2025, but that the error did not jump off the page for her because she isn't involved with her husband's businesses. Okay, wow.
How insane is that? And President Trump just came out to address the nation about Ilhan. Let's listen in.
You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other. And we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell...
Wow. Come from hell. That's insane. And now President Trump is talking about her net worth.
Rich, and they don't have a job. I was told that Ilhan Omar is worth $30 million. She never had a job. She's a crooked congressman. So here's another one. And I have, oh, by the way, we just took out, that's what, these are all what ICE is doing. And it's a dangerous job. These are rough people. Weapons. This one here is very bad.
So Ilhan Omar has finally responded to President Trump.
Everybody knows I came to the United States at the age of 12, gained my citizenship at the age of 17, and I am an elected representative in the House of Congress, and so the House of Representatives in Congress. And so for me, you know, I look at it as a display of his ignorance. And I see it as a national embarrassment that he continues to say those kind of things, even though he does know what the truth is. Everybody knows it.
Wow. So she says everybody knows. She says everybody. Do you know that? I don't know that. So why is she including me on that? And even John Fetterman slammed Ilhan Omar for what she did.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, now it's, you know, the constant kinds of yelling and screaming and holding up signs and for doing all these things.